trying to override the governor's vetoes.
Plus,
debt is a curse.
The House continues debate over what Trump calls his big beautiful bill, with Medicaid cuts, tax cuts for the wealthy, and trillions in national debt at the center of the debate. How Trump's major policy bill could affect you.
And the jury makes a final decision on Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking charges after an 8-week trial, why legal experts have mixed feelings on the verdict. Newswatch starts right now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joshua Herner.
And I'm Abigail Semple. Welcome to Newswatch.
The Ohio Department of Natural Resources is investigating the death of a hiker in Hocking Hills.
In a statement, ODNR says the hiker was on a trail at Conkle's Hollow State Nature Reserve when a tree allegedly fell on them. No information about the person's identity has been released. In the aftermath of yesterday's heavy rain, the Hocking River is higher than normal.
The river rose to almost 14 feet at early this morning in Logan, which is a minor flood level. The river was still in action stage as of 4 p.m. today, meaning the river was above 9 feet.
For more on the floods aftermath, let's turn to forecaster Steve. What does it mean for the river to be in action stage?
So the action stage is kind of just a warning sign. That's when, once it reaches that level, that's when you kind of need to be on alert for a possible flood. So now that they've dipped below that, we should be in the clear in terms of flooding, especially with a look at the radar right now. No real showers in the area, and that's going to continue for quite some time. Right now, we're sitting in the high 80s, so a pretty nice day, and really lacking a lot of humidity. So this is our first really comfortable but warm day we've had in quite some time. And that's pretty much across the board. Springfield 82, Columbus 84. We're again a little bit warmer down here in southern Ohio, but it's been a pretty pleasant day so far. Now tonight we're going to drop off a little bit because we don't have any clouds in the area to act as a blanket to keep any of this daytime heating in. So our overnight low is going to be a little bit lower than it has been in the past. 64 tonight, but it's going to be pretty nice. And tomorrow we begin to heat back up a little bit, mostly sunny skies. And so let's take a look then in my full forecast what the rest of this week is going to look like.
LGBTQ+ advocates are raising concerns over a provision in the Ohio state budget prohibiting Medicaid funding from being used for mental health services that promote or affirm gender transition. Advocates say the problem is providers receiving funding from the state don't know what, if any, portion of that funding is coming from Medicaid and therefore subject to restrictions included in the budget. Executive Director of Equality, Ohio, Dwayne Stewart, says this will lead to preemptive compliance from healthcare providers.
The whole Medicaid situation is a complete confusing mess, and I believe it's being done by design. Providers will second guess, and they will possibly not treat or provide services to trans folks.
Nearly $40 billion have been appropriated for Medicaid in the next fiscal year. After Governor DeWine issued an unprecedented 67 vetoes, more than his last 3 budgets, lawmakers are considering overriding some of them. DeWine vetoed several proposals cutting property taxes, many of which would have cut funding for public schools. One of those proposals would have only allowed schools to keep 40% of the revenue they make from property taxes between years. DeWine said this would have been too big of an adjustment for schools to make at once. While some lawmakers are calling to override the governor's vetoes, the process is difficult. 3/5 of both chambers would need to vote in favor of overriding it. Only 3 of DeWine's vetoes have been overridden during his time as governor.
An Ohio group is trying to put an equal rights amendment on next year's ballot. Ohio Equal Rights filed about 2,000 signatures, more than double what they needed. While traditional ERA amendments usually only include women, supporters say this one is different. The amendment would also include factors like age, marital status, military status, and disability status, among others. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost still needs to certify the petition before it can head to the Ohio ballot board. There, officials will decide if the ERA is one ballot initiative or more. The initiative would need almost 450,000 signatures to be put on the ballot. Columbus joined Chicago and Baltimore in suing the Trump administration over changes to the Affordable Care Act. The cities say the changes will result in nearly 2 million Americans losing health insurance. The rule shortens the open enrollment period for Americans buying insurance on the marketplace and ends a monthly special enrollment period for people with income below the federal poverty line. It also adds pre-enrollment requirements such as income verification checks. President Donald Trump is touting progress toward a potential ceasefire in Gaza, but it's unclear if Hamas will accept the terms. Yesterday, Trump said Israel agreed to the necessary conditions for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. In a post on social media, Trump credited Qatari and Egyptian officials for helping broker the deal. But Trump administration officials say Hamas has not accepted the deal yet. The deal is aimed at halting the fighting in Gaza while officials work toward ending the war.
President Donald Trump is laying a full-court pressure campaign to entice reluctant Republican House members to pass his massive agenda bill, but he may have his work cut out for him. In a post to Truth Socials today, Trump said that the country will make a fortune, but only if the bill is passed. Texas Republican Senator Chip Roy says there is right now enough Republican no votes to stop the bill.
We sent them a product. We liked it in some respects. Could be better in others. The Senate has now made some changes. Some are good, some are bad.
Many Republicans are still concerned about the cuts to Medicaid. Even though 2 days remain to the self-imposed July 4th deadline, President Trump is still remaining firm to that date. From seniors to college students, the wealthy to the poor, nearly every American could be affected by President Donald Trump's mega bill.
From seniors to college students, the wealthy to the poor, nearly every American could be affected by President Donald Trump's mega bill.
This bill has something for everybody.
The legislation, dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, narrowly passed the Senate Tuesday, reduces taxes for nearly all households. But a Tax Policy Center analysis shows nearly 60% of those cuts would benefit only the top 20% of U.S. households, those making $217,000 or more yearly, while most middle and low-income Americans may not notice much of a change in their tax bill. It also temporarily provides tax breaks for some workers who get tips or overtime, and senior citizens through 2028.
Our goals were, how do we create an economy which works for working and middle America?
There's also roughly $150 billion in new funding for the president's immigration agenda, including money for a border wall, ICE's enforcement efforts, and detention centers. Some $3.3 trillion to the national deficit over a decade, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office.
We're adding debt to our children and grandchildren who are defenseless. Debt is a curse.
And the biggest cuts to the federal social safety net in decades, including food assistance, the Affordable Care Act, and Medicaid.
Donald Trump's One Big Ugly Bill rips health care away from more than 17 million Americans.
Experts say it would have a ripple effect throughout the healthcare system, especially on rural hospitals, which likely would have to reduce staff, limit services, or close their doors entirely. In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Sean Diddy Combs was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution today.
But Combs was found not guilty on charges of sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and racketeering.
The music mogul could face a maximum of 20 years in prison for the charges, but he could have faced life if he was convicted of any of the not guilty charges.
We're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life. He still faces substantial jail time.
Combs was denied bond by the judge after prosecutors said he remained a flight risk. The judge has offered a sentencing date of October 3rd, but expressed willingness to move up the date at the defense's request.
A murder case that captured national attention came to a sudden end this week.
Brian Kohberger pled guilty to quadruple murder, but the plea deal left many of the victims' families stunned. Maribel Gonzalez has the story.
Some of the family members of 4 University of Idaho students stabbed to death inside this off-campus house in 2022, showing up Wednesday to court in Boise, Idaho, to face the man who admitted to the killings.
The defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment: burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes.
Brian Kohberger entered the guilty plea just 1 month before his quadruple murder trial was set to begin.
I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial.
The plea deal, a move that allows Kohberger to skirt the death penalty and that at least one victim's family has condemned.
This isn't what we should be doing. You don't deal with terrorists, and you don't deal with people who kill your kids in their sleep. So, we'll never see this as justice.
And without a trial, key questions about the gruesome murders still linger.
I'm not liking the fact that there's no guarantee here that this individual is going to share details.
The prosecution giving an overview of evidence they would have presented at trial.
The state submits that the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty, on November 13th, 2022, he then killed Manny Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Santa Cruz.
In Boise, I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
A 5-minute walk will do you good.
Coming up, balancing everyday responsibilities and making time for exercise can be hard, but experts say it's the little things that count. What you can do to build your healthy habits in your life.
And if you're looking to buy a home before the school year starts, you may be shocked by the prices and the size of down payments. Stay tuned for tips on making your payments more affordable.
We've had some beautiful weather move into the area. Stay tuned to see if that sticks around for our holiday weekend next.
Welcome to the age of humans.
Biological control is not an eradication tool, it's a management tool.
There was this sense that biological control was easy. It's not.
It has deep ethical implications. Oh, that's so many mosquitoes. Why, I guess is the question.
You should get rid of the competition.
Don't let it get away.
I'm going to be thinking about that for a very long time.
Tonight at 9 on WOUB.
Did you get that?
That is incredible.
We are a part of a revolution.
That, for me, is so exciting.
The Renaissance is endlessly conflicted and violent. And once you start to mix art and money, it's a lethal cocktail.
Michelangelo knows that he is going to be judged.
When it's finished, Leonardo moves to a new level of fame.
Raphael is going to steal Michelangelo's legacy.
Rivalry is embedded within the Renaissance.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
Staying active is a key part of being healthy, but it can be hard to find the time.
The CDC says adults should aim for at least 2.5 hours of moderate intensity exercise and 2 days of muscle strengthening activity every week. This can be any form of movement or weightlifting.
While it may be hard to make the time to exercise, experts say to start slow.
Research shows even a 5-minute walk will do you good. Just get moving somehow, one foot in front of the other, and then incorporate it into your daily routine.
Experts recommend slowly increasing the length of your workouts. Over time, you can lower your risk of cancer, heart disease, and even early death.
So Steve, is tonight a good night to start those 5-minute walks?
Absolutely, and you could even do it right now as we're sitting at 87 degrees, but not a lot of humidity. I mean, if our air was a glass of water right now, we're not even halfway full in terms of humidity, 45%. And we've only had these puffy cumulus clouds dotting the sky today, so we haven't even had that much cloud cover. Now, the lack of cloud cover has let a lot of surface heating head into our area. Lancaster 84, we're sitting in the upper 80s, Columbus 84. So overall, it's been a pretty picture-perfect day in much of southern Ohio. Now again, we haven't had much cloud cover in the area, and that's pretty much going to stay that way because we have a lot of high pressure in our area that's clearing out our skies. But it's also helped keep the rain away after we had those rounds come through the past few days. We should be in the clear for at least a few days, but for right now, there's really nothing in the area, and maybe a few showers to our south, but nothing that's of note. Now again, we have that high pressure system that's just kind of going to set up shop again. It's not going to be anything like that heat dome we experienced, but it is just kind of going to set up shop and make for a pretty beautiful week ahead, as it's not going to allow any weather to really move into our area, not any humidity that's going to allow it to come in. But if we look into tonight, that cloud cover, while it did help us heat up throughout the day, it's going to allow us to cool off big time tonight as we're going to get to 64 degrees. So honestly, if you throw on a hoodie, you could get your 5 minutes of walking in even after the sun goes down tonight. Again, mostly clear because of those lack of clouds. And then we heat right back up tomorrow. We're going to slowly build over these next few days, kind of a few degrees every single day. 89 tomorrow, and again, an overnight low of 64. Mostly sunny skies. That's really just, we're going to be seeing a picture-perfect second half of this week, and we really kind of deserve it after what we went through the past 2 days in terms of that rain. This high pressure really doesn't go anywhere as of tomorrow morning. And then we slowly see a front try and move into our area and drop down from the north. But again, it's kind of just going to be pushed right back up, and that's going to keep us from getting any rain in the area. And it's going to allow for us to have any festivities we want outside this weekend for the holiday weekend. Again, Friday, not much to speak of. It's kind of just going to push that front right back up north. So again, we won't have to deal with much of that. Now, a big thing that we want to keep an eye on, we're kind of all sick of the heat a little bit with that heat dome moving out, but we are going to run a few degrees above average over the next 6 to 10 days. But who doesn't love a little 4th of July heat? We're going to be a few ticks above average, even though average is about 84, 85. We'll start jumping up there a little bit. But if we take a look at the long range, we kind of got two different stories going on. This first half of the week, we're slowly heating up at just a few degrees every single day until we get to Saturday and Sunday. And then we start to allow that rain to push into our area on the weekend. And that's what's going to slowly cool us off, because that rain's going to enter our atmosphere. And when it does, it helps cool off that air. And we won't have a lot of sunshine as we get to the middle of next week. And then hopefully we start to tick back up once we get to Wednesday with a high of 90. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Steve. If you're in the market to buy a home this summer, you may have noticed many conventional loans require a 20% down payment. But there are other options that allow you to put down as little as 3.5%. Jen Sullivan looks at these other options that can help make your payment more affordable.
Home sale prices have skyrocketed in recent years. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median price of existing home sales in May was more than $422,000. And if you're buying a home at that price and putting down 20%, that means you need more than $84,000 in cash. And it means buyers won't have to pay for private mortgage insurance.
It's completely out of reach for many Americans to think about putting 20% down for a mortgage.
Well, 20% has long been the magic number for down payments. Jessica Loutz with the National Association of Realtors says that's changed over the last 5 years, and more first-time buyers are putting down around 9%. Here's how. Federal Housing Administration loans, known as an FHA, is a government-backed loan for qualifying buyers. Your down payment can be as low as 3.5%.
There is a credit score requirement, but it is in the 500s.
There are some downsides to that. Your offer could be less competitive, and it means your debt and monthly payment will be higher because you're putting down less money.
The expectation is that home prices will continue to increase, so that debt-to-income ratio is actually going to work out in your favor over time.
If you're a veteran or active military member, consider a VA loan. Lout says in some cases, you don't need to put any cash down.
Also, looking at state and local programs, the down payment resource is a great place to go to see what you may qualify for on a local level.
Loutz also recommends shopping around to get the best mortgage interest rate, and make sure you're still budgeting for closing costs that can add up quickly. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Next, new details in an effort to conserve a historic statue in Marietta.
PBS viewers believe that businesses that sponsor PBS on WOUB Public Television have a commitment to quality and excellence. Sponsoring a PBS television program offers your business a unique opportunity to connect with a highly engaged, loyal, and trustful audience in a clutter-free environment, leading to increased brand awareness, positive perception, and potential for higher customer engagement. Your sponsorship is important to the community, and the rewards come back to you in the form of loyal customers. Align your organization with America's most trusted news and public affairs network. WOUB Public Television is worthy of your trust. Contact Corporate Support Director Kathy Malesic at 740-593-4909 or online at woub.org/support.
This July 4th, join us for the 45th anniversary of a Capitol 4th. Celebrate our freedom and independence and those who defend it. Join our host, Alfonso Ribeiro, with the Beach Boys, Josh Turner, The Temptations, Lauren Daigle, Trombone Shorty, Abby Carter, Locat, Yolanda Adams, and the greatest display of fireworks in the USA. Live from the U.S. Capitol, it's a Capitol 4th.
Friday at 8 on WOUB.
The future of an iconic landmark in Marietta is up in the air, caught in between a battle over how to preserve a piece of the city's history.
Newswatch reporter Noah Kevin is live in the studio with more.
Yeah, thanks guys. The Start Westward Memorial has been a staple for the people of Marietta for decades, and efforts to conserve the statue at its center is drawing up some strong emotions. At the very center of Muskingum Park in Marietta sits this statue. Most people pass it by without another thought.
I have found that there's so many people in Marietta that have no idea what it is. It's a statue in the park.
But it has quite the story to tell.
So many people don't know its significance. They know, oh, that's the picture they have on the city vehicles. They don't know what the importance of it is, what it really represented.
It is part of the Start Westward Memorial, dedicated on July 8, 1937 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt to commemorate what he called 150 years of Americanism, and sculpted by Gutzon Borglum, the sculptor of Mount Rushmore. The sandstone statue depicts the settlement of Marietta, the first American settlement in the Northwest Territory.
Start Westward Monument is the single most important piece of art in town.
For many, this space is a staple of their hometown that holds countless memories.
18 years of meeting at the park with my friends this was one of the places we always met.
Marietta Bicentennial in 1988. Of course, it was a highlight then. There's a time capsule buried down there.
I remember climbing on it.
The memorial is so ingrained into the city that in 2020, Mayor Joshua Schlicker decided to make it the city's logo.
I thought it was more important to put the emphasis on the monument or the memorial in the park, depicting the original pioneers that settled Marietta.
While the statue has a rich past, today it faces an uncertain future.
The City Council of Marietta is trying to preserve it. Unfortunately, it's made of local sandstone, and this statue is turning back to a pile of sand.
In order to preserve this piece of history, the city, working with the state of Ohio and the Ohio History Connection, are making a bronze replica to replace the original. But some, including Borglum's granddaughter, oppose the plan and are trying to raise enough awareness to stop it. Joe Grimm is the president of the Start Westward Memorial Society. He says the city and state are rushing to restore the memorial in time for the country's 250th birthday next year, and he's worried about what happens to Borglum's original sandstone statue.
They don't have enough information about conservation in place. They just don't have that information. They haven't taken time. They want to get it done.
But the city says it has plans to move the original statue to a climate-controlled building, but specific details haven't been worked out. But for now, The statue sits where it has for the last 87 years, a quiet testament to Marietta's history. The Start Westford Memorial Society is fighting to put the monument on the National Register of Historic Places after Marietta City Council voted down a resolution to do so. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Noah Cavan, live in studio.
WOUB is your source for news in the Southeast Ohio. For the latest updates, visit our website at woub.org or download the WOUB app.
Still ahead, how one Massachusetts town celebrates its history. Stay tuned to find out more about the so-called greasy pole competition.
Harry Franklin's dead. The crime writer? Sounds like a locked room mystery.
Did you know he was writing a memoir?
It feels like you're just doing this to make patients feel useful.
I think I'm not cut out to be an investigative assistant. Patience?
We all make mistakes.
You worked it out yet?
Sunday at 8 on WOUB.
One masterpiece mystery.
Vicarage. I'll be there as soon as I can. Hello, I'm Alfie.
There have been some strange goings-on since the closure was announced.
What are you thinking? Not my jurisdiction.
There better be a pint in it.
Make it two. There is something else you should know.
I've done it. I've only gone and bloody done it.
Done what?
Grantchester, on Masterpiece Mystery.
Sunday at 9 on WOUB.
Asking tough questions to those in power.
There is this consensus that Democrats are somehow out of touch with the voters.
All of us have to do a better job of seeing the very real pain that exists across this country.
What did you make of the high degree of dysfunction within the Republican conference?
I always felt that it was broken.
And covering events as they unfold.
This continues to be a dangerous situation. Almost everyone is either evacuated or lost a home in this fire.
Francia Marquez, a Black Colombian activist, challenges the status quo with a presidential campaign that inspires a nation to dream. Igualada on POV.
Monday at 10 on WOUB.
One town has a unique but slippery way of celebrating its history. The Greasy Pole competition is part of the annual St. Peter's Fiesta in Gloucester, Massachusetts, celebrating the town's fishing history and faith. The goal is to cross the length of a 45-foot-long telephone pole and grab a flag at the end. But there's a catch. That pole is slathered in grease, banana peels, eggs, and even fish guts. The Greasy Pole contest is a decades-old tradition dating back to the 30s. So Steve, I've heard that you've done the Greasy Pole competition here in Ohio before. Is that true?
It is true. I've actually done it twice in Kelly's Island. Our pole, it's not 45 feet, it's 23 feet, and we use Crisco instead. But let me tell you, it's a heck of a competition. People come out, it's a great time.
So no fish guts or anything like that, right, Steve?
No fish guts, Crisco instead. But I will tell you, the rain makes it extra slippery. And after the past 2 days, we would be dealing with some of that too. But for tonight, clear skies, 64 overnight low. And that's pretty much gonna be our path over the next few days. Sunny skies, a lot of heat. We're gonna heat up as we head into the weekend. But then rain does return at the start of next week as we begin to cool down.
Thanks for watching. I'm Abigail Semple.
And I'm Joshua Herner. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. Have a great night.
We're on the precipice of a great discovery.